Hey everyone, welcome back to bageltcg. Today we're going to be doing part 3 of reviewing Dynasty spoilers. We're going to be looking at a few of the last assassin cards we've seen, and then looking at quite a lot of cards we've seen over the last day and a half or so. I'm going to Worlds, flying to California in a few hours after this video, so I won't be able to make a spoiler video reviewing the rest of the cards we see after this video comes out. But I'll make one once I get back reviewing those cards. But for now, I'm just going to try to fit as many as I can in here, and we're going to hop right into it, looking at Cut to the Chase. This is a pretty solid assassin attack reaction. It blocks for 3, which is pretty high for an attack reaction. It gives +3 to a card with Contract, assassin attack action card with Contract for the cost of 0, which is a great rate. Thinking of Razor Reflex, which is a 1 cost to get +3 and only blocks 2. And then also lets you activate, it gives you like an extra hero activation by looking at the top card of Defending Hero's deck and put it on the bottom. This card is pretty good. I think the blue especially is pretty nice. The blue is kind of like a better lunging press for this deck a lot of the time. But because it doesn't give Go Again and none of our cards have built-in Go Again, I think you'd probably rather play Razor Reflex a lot of the time just to try to get that, that Go Again in there. But outside of that, I think it's pretty good, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the blues and then maybe some number of the reds. Next, we've got a Majestic here with Eradicate. It's a 1-cost yellow, 4 power, and 3 block. Has Contract to banish yellow cards, and when it hits a hero, banish the top X cards of their deck, where X is the damage dealt. So this can get you a lot of silver by banishing a significant amount of cards. A significant amount of cards and getting you a ton of silver, but not that many decks play yellows. If there was like a ton of Prism running around, this card would probably be pretty good to get you a ton of silver, but as is, in the current meta, there's not that many yellows being played, and I just don't see this card being worth it. If we do get into a meta where some of the best decks are playing a lot of yellows, I could see you playing this as, as one of your sideboard cards into those decks to get you a ton of resources. We have a Warrior Majestic here with Ironsong Pride. This is a 1-cost Warrior instant aura. No block there because it's an instant. You can put a +1 counter on target sword you control. When it leaves the arena, remove all +1 counters from swords you control. At the beginning of your end phase, if a sword has not hit this turn, destroy it. So, thinking about Dawnblade with this, right? If you have no counters, this ends up being pretty nice. It's kind of a reaction that lets you get 1 damage in there. The first time you play it, you'll often be able to keep it around for the next turn because it'll usually be a reaction that'll get you 1 damage in and not be destroyed by its own effect. Obviously, losing all your counters when it leaves the arena is not great, but it has the same condition of Dawnblade losing counters. Like Dawnblade keeps its counters if you have hit once that turn. So it's not like it's going to remove its counters before Dawnblade remove its own counters. So it's basically a free +1 counter for 1 resource, which I think is pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Obviously, it could leave the arena by being destroyed by something like a Ruinous Reclamation, but I don't think you're worried about that too much. Maybe if there's eventually a lot of aura destruction, but for now, I think it's a pretty safe card to stick around as long as your Dawnblade is keeping the counters itself. And yeah, 1 counter for 1 resource is pretty good. On the first 2 attacks, it's like a 1 for 2 damage, which is not great. The third attack, it's a 1 for 3 damage, which is, on rate for like a Razor Reflex or something. And then on the 4th attack, it's kind of above rate, right? 1 for 4 damage. And then so on, it just gets better and better. I think this card's pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dawnblades playing all 3 of these. Like I said, its effect only removes counters at the same time Dawnblade would itself, so you're not really going to lose counters anytime early. So it's kind of 1 resource for a free +1 counter, which is pretty good. Next, we've got a Runeblade action here, another Majestic. This is a 3-cost red that blocks for 2. It says, if an attack action card was pitched to play this, each hero chooses and destroys an ally they control. If a non-attack action card was pitched to play it, each hero chooses and destroys an aura they control. This card's pretty bad. It may be meant for more like Ultimate Pit Fight. I guess it's pretty good into like very specific decks like Dromai, destroying an ally and destroying an aura of theirs. But it doesn't have Go Again. It costs 3. It's a red. It's a 2 block. Everything about it stat-wise is pretty bad. So the effect has to be really powerful to make it worth it. And I don't think it's often going to be worth it, except for maybe some very specific matchups. So really a sideboard card, and maybe not even a playable sideboard card at that. Next, we've got a Runeblade Weapon Book, two-handed book here. Is a rare, and it says, once per turn action, pay 3 resources, draw a card. If an attack action card and a non-attack action card were pitched this way, create a Runechant token. So, I don't think any of the current Runeblades want this. It doesn't have Go Again. You're just paying like 3 resources to draw a card, or maybe 2 cards and 3 resources to draw a card and get a Runechant. It's not very good. You know, Rosetta Thorn's pretty busted, so we're not really looking to lose that. I expect that this is meant for, you know, we've seen a lot of Sutcliffe cards that reference him throughout Flesh and Blood so far, and all of them, I think pretty much all of them, build Runechants. They all make Runechants. So I would expect to see a Sutcliffe hero card at some point that is kind of a Runechant OTK deck, and will probably want something like this. But until we see a Sutcliffe hero that is literally just a Runechant, I go burr and make a bunch of Runechants, and not just kind of like the aggro kind that Viscerai is, like something that makes him a bunch and then gets him like huge payoffs at just OTK. I could expect a hero like that, but currently not really playable. We've got Hemorrhage Boar. This is a common Ranger arrow attack, so there'll be a yellow and a blue version of this as well. It's a 1 for 5, 3 block, has all the normal arrow effects, and it says if it has an aim counter, it has when this hits a hero, destroy a card in their arsenal. So this is only currently playable with that new bow. I think in my last video I was talking about we don't know what those aim counters do. Apparently they give some extra effects to your arrows. This is okay. I mean, if you can get the aim counter on it, it's quite good. But if you don't have the aim counter on it, it's just a textless 1 for 5, which isn't very good. So might not be good enough just because you have to get that aim counter. You'd like the aim counter to be kind of an extra benefit, not the base card being okay. But it is a common. Next, we've got Hornet Sting. This is a rare Ranger Equipment Arms. It blocks for 1 with Blade Break, and when it defends, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an arrow, you deal 1 to the attacking hero or ally. Otherwise, put it on the bottom. This is pretty bad, probably worse than Bullseye Bracer. It gives you 1 health and then lets you kind of shoot your opponent for 1 and then filter a little. It's not great. I think you want something more out of your arm slot. Bullseye Bracer is quite good because it doubles as Arcane Barrier. And yeah, I just don't think this will take Bullseye Bracer's slot. But maybe if your deck really needs to have arrows on the top to filter for stuff like that new bow, this could possibly be worth it, but I think Bullseye Bracer will still win out. This isn't really something to review, but just want to make it clear that Arachne does have a young hero as well, so he'll be playable in Blitz. And then we have Plasma Mainline. This is a Mechanologist Majestic. It's an action item. It costs 2. It's a red. Doesn't block because it's an item. It says when it enters the arena, it has 5 steam counters on it. When there's no steam counters on it, destroy it. When a Mechanologist item with cost 2 or less enters the arena under your control, you may move a steam counter from this to that item. This is pretty good, I think. Obviously on stuff that you can easily put counters on, like Induction Chamber or Plasma Purifier, it's not that great. But with stuff like Teklo Pounder or Teklo Core, it's pretty good with both of those. So I think it's maybe fine. It's probably better in Data Doll, and there's a lot of good Data Doll cards in this set. But I don't know if Dash is going to want this particularly. It just might not fit her deck well enough. Next, we've got Dust from the Red Desert. This is a Draconic Illusionist Action, Ash. It blocks for 3. It's a Majestic. It's 0 cost in red. And it is a material, just like all Ash are. And it says, while this is under a permanent other than Vincerikai, that permanent has Phantasm. So effectively, they're printing a few of these Majestic Ashes. They work like normal Ash that your hero ability generates on Dromai, but these you play from your deck, and certain dragons will lose Phantasm, or not lose, they just won't gain Phantasm when they're on it. So specifically, Vincerikai will not have Phantasm when he's put on top of this. There's a cycle of quite a few of these. I don't know how good they are. I think it's probably not worth the whole card. It doesn't have Go Again. It's pretty slow, and I'd rather just play a Mirror Guy or a Chrome Eye before it than have to play this whole Ash out using an action point. So, and it like maybe it's not doesn't really help you against aggro decks, which are what you're struggling against. Dromai already beats Guardian and stuff like that, so she really needs something to stop like on hits on her dragons like Mauvrin Skies and Mask Momentum, and this doesn't help her there. Next, we've got a Majestic Warrior action. This is called Cleave. It's a 1-cost red that blocks for 3, and it says your next axe this turn gains +4, and when this hits a hero or ally, you may deal that much damage to another ally controlled by the same hero. Go again. So 1 for 4, pretty solid rate. It only works on axes, but axes probably had a little more trouble into dragons and allies than Dawnblade did. Obviously, Dawnblade wasn't worried because it could just stack counters from hitting the allies twice in a turn. But the axes didn't have that luxury, so this is pretty good in combination with the axes. Heat Seeker here is a majestic ranger action arrow attack. It's a 1 for 5 that blocks for 3, and it says when this hits at the beginning of your end phase, put the top card of your deck face up into your arsenal. This card's really, really good. Rangers are probably all going to run 3 of it. It works with New Horizon well because its effect will happen before you arsenal, so you can put the top card of your deck face up in your arsenal, and then arsenal your last card in hand face down. So it effectively like draws you a card, and that's pretty good. 1 for 5 arrow that draws a card is quite good. So I expect this card to see play in every ranger. Hyperdriver is a card that we've had before, but I believe we only had the red, and so they are reprinting it with a blue and a yellow as well. These just enter with less steam counters. So instead of entering with 3 steam counters on them like the red, these will enter with 2 and 1 respectively. This is just a card that, it's a mech item, costs 1. When you boost, you remove a steam counter from it and gain a resource. But these are going to work in combination with the new card Construct Nitro Mechanoid. You transform target mechanologist's head, chest, arms, legs, weapon, and 3 hyperdrivers you control into Nitro Mechanoid. And it has go again. It costs 4. It's a majestic yellow that blocks for 3. And it'll transform into this card here that is not showing up properly. Let's see if I can get it to... No, let's see. It does not look like it wants to open the card properly. So it is Nitro Mechanoid. It's this card on the left here. It is a beautiful card. It's a mechanologist weapon equipment item. It has 5 power and 5 defense. It has temper, so you can slowly block 5 and then 4 and then 3 and then 2 and then 1. It has overpower, which means it can only be defended with 1 action card, and then has an action to banish a card from under it and then attack. So this card's really cool. Very, very cool. It works. There's also an arms that was printed along with it. This Galvanic Bender. This is a mechanologist equipment arms. It's a rare. Blocks for 1 with Battle Worn. And it says material. While this is under a permanent, that permanent has +1 power. So very good. It is kind of interesting because you lose everything, right? Like you lose your head. You have to first of all run mechanologist for everything. Like you can't run any generics. You have to have a mechanologist head, chest, arms, and legs. And you lose all of that, and you lose your weapon. And then you also have to sacrifice the 3 hyperdrivers that you've played throughout the game. So it's a big ask, but its action of attacking is not a once per turn effect, right? So if Galvanic Bender is under it, it can attack for 6. It does not have a go again on attack, but if you play High Octane and then attack with a few boost cards with go again, boosting and then gaining a bunch of action points, you could attack, like let's say you play High Octane and then boost 4 times. You get 4 extra action points, and that's 6 times 4 on that Nitro Mechanoid, plus the extra, your normal action point at the end, so 5 attacks. So you can attack for 30 with your Nitro Mechanoid on top of the boosted cards. So it's kind of, I feel like it's more of like an OTK card, dealing like 30 damage after you've already kind of spent your cards. I mean, this card has Battle Worn, so you can block for 1 with it. Teklo Foundry Heart can block for 2 and then 1 with Battle Worn. So you kind of want to use everything up first and then sacrifice them all put them under that Nitro Mechanoid and come in for a ton of damage. An extra way to gain some of those hyperdrivers here is this rare called the Blessing of Ingenuity. At the start of your turn, destroy it, then put up to 3 hyperdrivers from your graveyard and or banish zone into the arena. So if you're using those hyperdrivers throughout the game, you don't have to be worried if you need them for your Nitro Mechanoid. You can get them back here, all 3, with Blessing of Ingenuity. Next, we've got a majestic brute action called Berserk. This is a one. This card's really good. All the Brute Majestics seem to be really good. So 1 cost yellow that blocks for 3. It has go again, and it says until end of turn, whenever you discard a random card with 6 or more power, banish it. If you do, reveal the top card of your deck. If it has 6 or more power, draw a card. So this lets you like be card neutral when you're discarding cards for the turn. It also banishes, which means Levia will turn off her blood debt. So really good for Levia. And yeah, and it lets you be card neutral when you're discarding at random that turn and when you're discarding those 6s. So I think in combination with a few of the other Brute cards I'm going to show here, this could form some sort of Brute OTK. So we've got Savage Beatdown, which is another one of their Majestics. This is a 3 cost red. It has 3 block and attacks for 6. You can only play it if you discarded a card with 6 or more power this turn. As an additional cost, you discard a random card. If the discarded card has 6 or more power, it has +6. So this is a 3 for 12 if you discard a 6 power card with it. So this in combination, with, for example, the card we just saw, Berserk, lets you be card neutral. You play this with Blood Rush Bellows to turn it on first, and it gets +2 more, so then you're coming in for 3 for 14. You can come in with your Mandible Claws first for 5 apiece. And then we even have a new card called Skullcrack, which is some extra copies of Beast Within. So it's a Majestic, 2 costs for 6 power and 3 defense. It says when it's discarded at random, you gain a resource. So another card like Beast Within that really wants you to discard it. So now we have 6 copies of that kind of please discard me effect. In combination with Blood Rush Bellows, Berserk, and Savage Beatdown, I'm sure Brute can now pump out some somewhat consistent 40 power turns when you're drawing cards off of Berserk to replace cards you discard, using that Blood Rush Bellows, intimidating quite a few times there on Blood Rush Bellows, on Savage Beatdown, and any cards you play before that. Obviously, it might need some Scab Skins rolls before that, or some other ways to gain Go Again or action points, but I'm expecting Brute to be able to do a ton of damage from here on out. Next, we've got a Majestic Runeblade attack action. It is a yellow that costs 3, attacks for 6, and blocks 3. It has the same kind of effect where you need to, it only turns on if you've pitched an attack action and non-attack to play this. And if you've done that, it has the first time it deals damage to a defending hero, they discard a card and you draw a card. So also not quite good. Pretty big cost. 3 costs is pretty high for Runeblade. You have to be able to pitch 1 of each card, and it doesn't have Go Again. And the effect is quite good if it hits. You get draw a card and they lose a card is quite a lot of card advantage, but it has a big cost. So this one I could see maybe seeing play. It's pretty good if you play Modern Skies into this, and you're able to get it connect, but it's pretty expensive, and it's probably not worth running. I'm not fully sure, but I think it might be too much of a cost to turn this on. We've got another one of those Majestic Ashes here. This one is for Necria. The same kind of effects. On every other dragon, it'll give them Phantasm. Necria, it will not give him Phantasm. Next, we've got a huge card for Bolton. We've got Spirit of Irina. It's a legendary Light Warrior action item. It's a yellow with 0 cost. And it's a legendary card, so you only can have 1 of it in your deck. It's also a legendary rarity. If it would be put into your soul, instead put it into the arena. When you play Lumen Ascension, or you may play Lumen Ascension as though an instant. So because Lumen Ascension has Go Again, this means Lumen Ascension will give you 2 action points. So it's kind of like Lumen Ascension being like an extra Snapdragon Scalers or something, which is quite good. Like being able to have all your Luminas be extra powerful by giving you an extra action point on the turn you play them is really good. Lets you play some powerful cards like Bolting Blade, or just lets you save some soul. Instead of having to banish from soul to give Go Again, you can just use that extra action point. So quite good, and there's not really any cost to playing it. You just use it as a banish at some point. Obviously, it doesn't block, which is annoying, but an aggressive Bolton deck doesn't block a ton anyways, and so I can see this seeing play, and it looks quite good. And hopefully, Bolton gets some more cards that are powerful like this, because he seems to definitely be the worst hero in the game right now, and he could definitely use the support. Next, we've got a Majestic Guardian action called Buckle. It's a blue 3 cost that blocks for 3, has Go Again, and it says your next Guardian attack this turn gains +1 Dominate, and when this hits a hero, destroy an equipment they control with a -1 counter on it. I don't think this is great. It's definitely worse than Terra Sunder. Like destroying equipment is nice, but it's not better than making your opponent discard 2 cards. And we don't really need more copies of that. Like, people already kind of cut Tear Asunder. If there was something like Bloodchief Skeleton still running around that we really needed to hit or we lose, you'd probably play this card. But currently there's no equipment that like makes Guardian lose the game, so probably not playable. Next we've got a Mechanologist Majestic. It's a Mechanologist action, non-attack action here. It's a red that costs 0 and blocks for 3. It says your next attack action, you boost this turn, gains +3, so kind of a nimblism effect there. Let's go again. And then it says the next time a Mechanologist item with cost 2 or less is banished to pay a boost cost this turn, put it into the arena. So I think Boost Dash will just play this. It's quite good. Obviously, Data Doll will want this too, but Boost Dash, like an aggressive Boost Dash, I think will be quite good with this. Often it'll just be +3 power, which is fine. Like a 0 for 3 power nimblism effect is already okay. But sometimes you'll high roll a bit and you'll hit like a Teklo Pounder or a Teklo Core and you'll just get it for free. And that high roll potential is really big, and there's almost no cost to playing it because it is a 3 block that gives +3 power. So, I mean, often you're not going to hit anything, but it's already fine without that, right? So I can expect this to be a 3 of and Boost Dash, giving you 3 extra damage, and then sometimes giving you just game-winning potential when you get a free Teklo Pounder, and you probably just win from there. Looming Doom is a Runeblade Majestic. This is a Runeblade action aura. It's a blue 3 cost that blocks for 3. When it enters the arena, destroy all rune chants you control and put that many Doom counters on it. At the beginning of your end step, remove a Doom counter from it. If you do, deal 2 arcane damage to any target. Otherwise, destroy Looming Doom. So this kind of doubles the damage of your rune chants, but instead it spreads them out over time, right? It makes each of your rune chants deal 2 damage, but only once per turn. It costs 3 and it doesn't have go again. So I don't think this card's very good and probably won't be played. Got another Ranger Majestic here. This is a 1 cost yellow that blocks for 3. It's a Ranger non-attack action with go again. Your next arrow this turn gains +3, so that's pretty good. 1 for +3 is a little below rate, but it's fine. If it has an aim counter on it, it gains when this hits a hero, look at their hand and choose a card. They discard it. So this card is not going to be played outside of the new bow that puts aim counters on it, or if there's more stuff that makes it easy to put aim counters. With an aim counter, it's quite good, giving your card +3 and a discard on hit that you get to choose the card too. So if the arrow has an aim counter, this is very good. This is a very good effect. So if you're playing a deck that can put aim counters on arrows easily, you'll probably want this card. If you aren't playing a deck that has aim counters, you won't really want this card. Next we've got Imperial Ledger here. Imperial Ledger is a kind of a cycle with these majestic generic action items. None of them seem great. They all get kind of a bonus from you being royal, but they don't have go again themselves. They're reds that don't block, so probably not worth it. This one will let you shuffle it into your deck and make a copper. If you're royal, you get a gold, but no go again on the action or playing it, so it uses 2 whole action points, which is pretty bad. We've got another one here, Imperial Edict. This one, same thing, red, no block, action without go again. Its effect does have go again, which is at least a little better. You destroy it and name a card. Name card can't be played until the start of your next turn. If you're royal, instead each opponent reveals their hand and then you name a card. Once again, probably not going to see any play, but it's cool. We've got a Mechanologist Majestic here. This is a 1 cost red, 4 power, 3 block. It's an attack action, and it has boost. This will be a nice boost to the aggro dash decks. It says when this attacks a hero, they reveal X cards from their hand, where X is the number of times you boosted this combat chain. Choose an action card with defense less than or equal to X, then add it to the chain as a defending card. So you use this kind of at the end or near the end of your combat chain to kind of grab a card from your opponent's hand. Against blocking decks, this isn't going to do a ton because they're probably blocking mostly anyways. But against like aggro decks, they're going to be holding some powerful cards, and this lets you pull it from their hand and put it on the chain. So a little worse than them discarding it, obviously, because it still gains them some life by blocking. But it is nice in the fact that it will, take a very powerful card from a deck's hand, and there's not even an on hit; it's just on attack trigger. So very good card, and I expect to see plenty of play in Boost Dash. Got another one of those majestic Ash here. This one is for Thamai. Then we've got some cards showing us finally what that Crouching Tiger stuff is. We've got Mind State of Tiger. This is a majestic ninja non-attack action aura. It's a 0-cost blue that blocks for 3, and it says, at the start of your turn, destroy it, then create a Crouching Tiger in your hand. And Crouching Tiger is this kind of token. It's a 0-cost, doesn't pitch. It has 0 attack, but it does have go again. It also doesn't block. And it says, if it would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, instead it ceases to exist. So it's ephemeral, a kind of a new keyword. Crouching Tiger seems fine. Mind State of the Tiger itself seems pretty medium. It doesn't have go again, so you're just putting like a whole action point into just gaining 1 Crouching Tiger, which is not very good. So I don't expect this card itself to see a ton of play. It is a 3-block blue 0-cost, which is nice for Kodachis. But you know, it doesn't really do anything a ton on its own. I'm trying to find the card that makes 3 Crouching Tigers, but I can't seem to find it right now. But there is a card that's on the Armory promo that I believe is a 0-cost that makes 3 Crouching Tigers in your banish zone as a red, and then you can play them that turn. That's pretty good, because if you have something like an Artivore out, these Crouching Tigers can can each have +1 power. Other ways to boost them is pretty nice. So yeah, there's also a few other cards that I think we'll see that are going to get some powerful boosts from you playing these Crouching Tiger effects. So excited to see more of that. But thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you next time.